Always a pleasure to be here at the bar, bringing the Boombah to you on your Boom Radio NG. My name is Shola Rojas.
And my name is Olajoloko. You know, the one and only.
Yeah.
He's beefing. Jesus Christ.
Anyhow,
The Lord is going to help you.
anywho, the sad part about what she calls beef is me just actually liking the fact that she has this way of introducing herself. But it's all right. If you're wired a certain way, you will see things that way. So it's all right. So it's the Boombah, and if you're wondering, it's not really about two people feuding or arguing or going back. Well, we can't actually do those two things, but it's beyond that. We have the drinks, and then we have the guys. The guys are at the bar, and what's next is that there's a lot of news that you can use. So what we try to do is bring it to you in a laid back way.
Laid back way, it's cool. But for people that are watching now, so people shall want to show us that they have new cup. That was all over the screen. Wow.
And I'm the jealous one.
You're right. I just wanted to put it like in case anybody like why so much color. Anyway,
wait. I'm the jealous one again, right? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so beyond all that rhetoric and all that bigotry that she has
excuse you. It is at this point I take exception.
It was at this point that she knew that she had picked up.
No.
So again, what it is that we're Nigeria centric, but we're Afrocentric and we're world centric. So we go around the world and talk about different things, and we also try to prefer solutions. And of course, that's what it is. That's the Boombah in a nutshell. There's so much to talk about. And if you've been following us, you know that we've been talking a lot of politics.
At this point, who else is not talking a lot of politics when you really think about it?
The people who are doing entertainment.
Even entertainment these days, because entertainment is not making plenty, like, what's it called? It's what is on everybody's lips. Like, from the elections, we know that, most elections are over, but there's still the story of courts, which is beginning to look very, very interesting. There's still conversations going around, even though at this point, a lot of these conversations should not be spoken about anymore, or should be taken into some caution should be taken when talking about some of these things, because some of these issues are already in court, and when issues are in court, you are not supposed to talk about it, that kind of issue. But anyway, we're talking about that. There's a lot of politics. There's I won't even call it politics. There are a lot of election issues. Mainly really not politics. When we really think about it, not really politics. That is a lot of things we're going to be talking about. There's a bit of sports that we're going to sprinkle in there. Sorry. The police are in the news. The federal government is in the news. And you know what? I think we should even just start from that. As remember the story of the census? That I remember, I think I was a child when the other one was ongoing. I'm not sure I can remember properly. I think I remember there was something like census that it came to come and count in the house and all that. Now, they're saying that the federal government has now confirmed that this census is going to begin on 3rd of May. So, and going to end on May 5th. To whom it may concern.
So, let us start from Saturdays are for Owambes and Fridays are for Owambe people.
And so there's still Saturday, huh?
I said Saturday and Friday.
Okay.
I'm walking back.
Okay.
Let us start from Saturday, who are for Owambes, and Friday are for Owambe people. Your Saturday Owambe should not be attached to a Friday engagement or Thursday engagement across Nigeria, because if that's the case, cancelled. For all the people who have social engagements and who already have plans,
rearrange yourself.
You're not going to be able to come up with those plans anymore, because the federal government has done this. And now, the thing about it is that the census is a welcome development. You're supposed to have a census, periodically, The last one, like Dolupo actually correctly pointed out, was 17 years ago.
Yeah.
The sad part about this for me is how, now I'm going to criticize this government, is how you took 8 years. You're in government for 8 years. And in the last 3 weeks of your government, or in the last 2 months or 3 months, you're organizing a census. It doesn't all go well, doesn't make sense, and doesn't look good to me. Now, you really don't have to agree with me. In fact, I want people to disagree with me and say, oh, what's the difference? What's the issue? The issue is that why is it hard for this government to allow the incoming government, regardless of who it is? We have a president-elect, anything can happen at the court, but that's not the crux of the matter. The crux of the matter is that why is there this desperation to organize a census before leaving government? The same way this government is talking about how they want to make sure that the national carrier kicks off before they leave government. You made campaign promises about that one. You've come through a lot and things have happened. But it's looking like, is there another thing behind it? Like, really and truly, government and governance is a continuum.
I think that on the issue of maybe the national carrier and the census and all that, to me, is looking like President Buhari's administration wants it attached to him, as this happened during President Buhari's administration. That's the way it looks. I might be wrong, but that's the way it looks. Like, nobody else is he has to do some certain things before May 29th, because once he's out of there, then it's no longer his administration that executed it. So I think that's the rush. The honest truth is that by the time they came up with the conversation that it was going to be May, it looked like it was going to be first week of May or maybe second week max, because of course we know that they're already getting ready for inauguration. Whichever way, courts or not, there's definitely going to be an inauguration, hopefully. So of course, by the second week in May, and obviously the third week, there's not a lot of things that is happening anymore. I don't think that it would be smart to say you're shutting down the country for 3 days. So the minute they moved it to May, which even if they said, remember the conversation for moving this thing was because the governorship elections was moved by a week. Yeah, I think that from May 18th or March 18th to May 5 is not 1 week. Do you get, like,
it's 3 days.
It could have. No, I said March 18th to May.
I mean, the census will take 3 days.
No, not even the number of days census will take. I'm saying that if it was because of an elections that was moved by 1 week, what happened to moving your original date by 1 week? Why did you have to move it all the way to May? That's my own question.
They're talking about training and all of it. Your training could have come up, and people
could have still come up.
Is it like the people you are training are dullards? Like when you train them, they will forget.
They still trained everybody the same way. It was just that you couldn't do it at the time. So moving by 1 week, how difficult was that? So I don't understand whatever it is, but it's the federal government. It's really nothing anybody can do about it. Now it's been announced that is May 3rd. That's a Wednesday to a Friday. I'm not understanding why this thing has to be done during weekday. Like, even if, like, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that if you're going to shut down the country for 3 days, the weekend, most of the time, there's a lot that is already not happening at the weekends. You can, instead of Wednesday to Friday, why not Friday to Sunday?
So, as it stands, just like Doluwat pointed out, and I totally agree with, I still feel that it looks like this situation is being poorly managed. In my opinion, I feel that it's been poorly managed by the government. Like, okay, they blame the court case that the Labour Party had taken to court for the reason because they had to now shift it because the gubernatorial elections were shifted, right?
Yeah.
The governorship elections were shifted. And you, like you pointed out, you didn't need that much of a gap. Then when they made the announcement about May, they should have picked a date already. You know that the 29th of May is the handing over ceremony, Abi? So why do you announce that you're shifting to May, then come back 2 or 3 weeks after to pick a date? It all smacks of irresponsibility and a lack of coordination and organization. That's the truth. And people need to speak the truth to power. We need to be able to, tell the government where they're erring and where they're going wrong. You can't just wake up one day and say, oh, the date where we picked is 3, 4, and 5th. The day you made the announcement about shifting to May, you should have actually picked a date so that people can plan ahead. Some Nigerians want to be counted. There are people abroad who can actually afford to come home because they want to be counted. The census is not a new thing. Even in it's in the Bible. The story about Jesus Christ being born in a manger was tied around a census. So I don't understand when government starts to take these decisions as if the citizens and the citizenry does not count. It's almost as if you're telling us we're the federal government, we've done what we want to do, and there's nothing you can do about it. And for me, it's so disappointing in a government that you think, oh, you want to go out on a high, but you're the same government that started changing money a few months before you leave. Then you're doing a Naira redesign without properly redesigning the Naira. All you did was change the color of the Naira. You're doing a Naira mop-up and you lied to us that it's Naira redesign. Then we went through all the hoops and all the issues and issues with it. Then there's an election. Then there's another election. Then there's supposed to be a handover. Now there's the census. It's too much for the system. It's too much for the polity. Couldn't you have spaced it out? You had 8 years. 8 years to do everything that you had to do. That's the truth. And this is the problem because you maybe like or support a system or a government, you think people don't have a right to speak the truth to power. But go back and think about what you've done. You're going to mess things up for a lot of people. A lot. Now, again, census. Is it a bad idea if you actually had it at the weekend?
That's what I'm saying. Like, okay,
it's not a bad idea.
Friday, you're already shutting down the what's it called? From Friday, let's be honest. Even like from government parastatals and all that. From Friday, a lot of stuff is not happening anymore. Yeah, Saturday and Sunday, places like banks, a lot of places do not open normally. So why put Nigerians through unnecessary stress when, okay, maybe the only day that people really feel the idea of, let's say, not going out or going to work is just Friday. And then you do it Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like whoever said it had to be middle of the week. Like, literally, that week is just ended because there's Monday and Tuesday. Then plus we'll sit at home Wednesday to Friday. Then there's Saturday and Sunday. That's a 5-day weekend. Oh, wow. Anyway, just say that you want to give Nigerians a 3 days public holiday. That's the way it looks to me. Because I don't see the sense in a lot of these things. But it is the federal government, so there's really nothing anybody can do about it at this point. So let's move on from that and let's move on to some election issues. Really not political issues yet. And one of the stories is that the police have arrested 781 people linking to a lot of election violence. That's the number of people nationwide that the police arrested during the 2023 general elections.
Look, it's a sad one. Oh. If you think I'm laughing, I'm actually crying. This news is disheartening that they arrested this many people. 781 offenders for electoral crimes. 781.
I think it's even small.
It's too much.
For
It's too many people
a
being.
country of 36 states, coming from about 200 million people, I think it's very small.
No, I think it's too many people being arrested.
I think it's way small
And
compared to a lot of violence that was seen around in a lot of places. And don't get me wrong, this is violence in the southwest, in the south, in the southeast, in the north. In fact, I don't know if this is just based on off of what I saw, but I would even say that seemed to be less violence in the north.
Well, I totally
Than in the south.
disagree with your
But
notion about how 781 people.
I think it's even small, really.
But I totally disagree with it. In my opinion, I think it's too many people being involved in too many criminal activities covering or over a period of an election. We are still in the dark ages. If we have to arrest, I don't think there's any country in the world. I stand to be corrected. I am not going to sit down here and act like I know it all. But I don't think there's any country in the world that has 781 people arrested over election crimes.
Okay.
These are the issues. This is
maybe
2023.
the way we see different things. On me, I'm like, separate this one, it's even small, really.
I don't know what you mean by small. Can you maybe explain?
Like I said, with the amount of violence that was seen, that was reported, some not really reported, I feel that 781 people across 36 states is actually not.
So you're fine with it? It's okay by you that we have this many people arrested?
Yes, I think that we're getting to a point where people are getting arrested for these things. Before, I'm not even sure this news ever used to come out, or people even used to get arrested and did not even mean that this like violence incidences didn't happen. In fact, if we look back, according against what a lot of people, would I say maybe on social media, believe, this is probably one of the calmest elections that we've had. And if this is the number of people that it got to arrest, imagine what happened in 2015, in 2019. So if people are now finally getting arrested for electoral malpractices or violence or whatever it is, I think it's a welcome development. People need to be accountable for their actions, for things that they do. And to me, I think it's a good thing.
In your words, we have to go back to compare how terrible things were to now mix it up to say how improved things are.
Yeah.
And terrible and improved does not mean good.
I'm not, of course.
So where I stand,
we can't have a perfect system, at least not in 4 years.
Perfection is even a long way off. Where I stand, when you have an election and there are 781 people arrested for committing acts that are, borderline or tantamount to criminality around election and electioneering, it's a worrisome situation. It is a sad situation. It is heartbreaking. And every time we go back to say, but maybe in 2015 there were 2,000 people arrested, still points to the fact that we have a lot of work to do.
We have a lot of work to do, but you're also not looking at it the fact that this number has reduced. So the minute it has reduced, there's an improvement.
I'm not impressed with the reduction in numbers, because we don't even know if it reduced or not. You just conjecture here now. Except you maybe you do a quick
very
search
possible,
and come back and say, the numbers are reduced.
But I'm even saying
reduced,
that even if
increased,
it hasn't reduced,
any election,
the fact that people are even getting arrested for their bad behavior is good for me.
Any election that has 781 people arrested for electoral malpractices reflects terribly on the country that these elections took place. It shows you the level of violence and desperation and how far and how low people will stoop for power, and we cannot stand for that. If you're really sure, if you're really, 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 really sure that you want an improved country, you want a country that's better than, what you have at the moment, everybody should stand to condemn that we had this many people perpetrating crimes during an election. And again, you rightly pointed it out. There are probably even more than is reported.
Yeah.
And we don't want that.
I feel that the fact that people are getting...
We don't want that.
I say that. The fact
we
that
don't
people
want
are getting arrested for
bad
behavior...
I think it's completely wrong. And
people need to be accountable.
I was checking out the...
Until people realize that, okay, the more I do this thing, I would actually get arrested for it.
It makes it worse.
No,
I was checking out the Inspector General of Police, recently. I think it was a few hours ago, commending his man, and of course talking about they're reviewing their performance at the elections. And so I repeat over and over again that we cannot sit here or stand anywhere and posit that, there's an improvement. There is an improvement in the area of the introduction of beavers and IREV.
Yeah.
Now verification is so authentic that you question even the so-called census that they're trying to do. Yeah. Now, they say they're 90 something.
Well, you can't question something that has not been done. You don't know how they're going to do it.
Okay, I am preempting it. They said it's going to be digital too, so yeah. I am preempting it. And yes, again, I start to be corrected. So there are 90 something million registered voters in Nigeria. And
this something million collected their PVC.
This particular election had less than 30.
I think I saw I saw an interview. I think it was Fulanis where he had said that I think that this elections, and I think that maybe when all the dust settles, a lot of people will begin to realize that as much as people don't like a lot of things, this, it was rigged, it was this, it was that. It said that this election is probably the first time we're seeing the original numbers of the electorate. Which I agree with. I totally agree with. We know that in 2019, I think that was when the PVCs really got introduced, which I think it also helped. The PVCs really did help because there are a lot of, but there was also the angle of people using their TVCs and all that. But I think these beavers really put a lot of authenticity to most of the electoral processes or the elections. Well, because if we really look at it, what we have, if we look at the Nigerian trend, our population, even if we don't do census, we know all over the world, population would increase, yeah? So if our population is increasing, and then people are going older, meaning that there are more people that are eligible to vote. So how come every single electoral year our number of electorate is decreasing? What we have as the total number of voters in this just last month is what somebody got in 2015 and 2011, even as far back as 1999. Do you understand? The 24 million people, 24 million votes, about 24 million votes that we kind of got for everybody, all parties involved, and the ones that had millions, and the ones that had thousands, and the ones that had hundreds. Everybody all together is what one party got. A few years ago, we've seen how the Beavers is showing us how there's a particular local government that has a number of people, which this number has even increased over time, and the votes that have been counted from that place over the years is twice or three times that number. Where did that come from? So yes, do I think that we're getting better? I think there's a major improvement. And like I would say again, if we're getting to a point where people are actually getting arrested for bad behavior, please bring it on. so that it will serve as a deterrent and people would realize, to me, my opinion, that the more I do these bad things, number one, there's really nothing that I'm going to do that is going to change the results. And also, the more I do these bad things, the more I would actually get penalized for it. So yes, it might look like a large number, but are we going to lie that there are a large chunk of people that are actually badly behaved in this country? Yep.
Okay, so once again, back to what I was saying, because I've listened to everything you said, and all you're saying is supporting what I am saying. And I'm going to repeat it over and over again for emphasis. If you have an election where 781 people are arrested for committing electoral malpractices and crimes during elections, your election process has to be revisited, and there's a problem. Then again, I also said that the census that we're about to have, they said it's going to be digital and all of that. If the census is really and truly going to be digital, then we need to understand that we might not be as many as we claim to be. But I'm going to wait for the results to come out. But I have to say it now because that's my opinion and my belief, and that's what I said, and that's what I mean, and that's what I stand by. That when you have an election, because all you did was reiterate what I was about to say, where in the same presidential elections, a single candidate had 23 million. Then you now have an election a few years after, one candidate had 12 million. The other one had something close. Then further down the line, when there's more awareness, when there's more noise, there's more buzz, everybody say, go get your PVC, go get your PVC, Then they got their PVCs, and they have 3 major candidates, and none of those people even came close to half of what a Yar'Adua or an Obasanjo had. And now we have a situation where there are more people, fewer votes.
Now, the problem might not be, but also
the digital process of screening and authenticating and verifying voters will show you, obviously,
or maybe as much as there was so much awareness,
we're probably not as much as we claim we are.
But maybe as
that's my stance.
But you know that as much as they're not, how do I say it now? That we can say that there are not a lot of people that voted. Let's cast our mind back to the fact that INEC also has a register of about 90-something million people with registered, 90-something registered voters. Those are over 90 million individuals. So, as much as we might say the awareness was, maybe people just did not vote.
So, maybe people did not vote.
Because to a large extent,
it
INEC's
implies
process of the PVC is biometric and all that. So
maybe people did not vote.
Maybe
implies
people just didn't vote.
Voter apathy.
Yeah.
But no election in the last 20 years has had the kind of buzz and awareness and followership like this election.
Yeah, but we have also come to realize that a lot of buzz does also not mean that a lot of people have voted. If you cast your mind back to, I think there were a lot of vox pops and interviews of different people around, and we saw the large chunk of people that didn't have PVCs. That we know that INEC in itself, I think that this is one of the things that I'm going to give INEC knocks for. How in the idea of what's it called, making more or having more polling units, a lot of people were disenfranchised, and it probably got a lot of people what's the word now, discouraged. A lot of people didn't even know where the polling units were, and all that, which, so I think that those are part of the things that probably got made. So there might have been a lot of awareness, but the honest truth is that with that awareness, what happened with that? So, absolutely nothing.
So again, we've dwelled a lot on this. Of course, nobody has a monopoly of knowledge or any of these things that we're talking about. I stand on what I've said, The census is coming up now, hopefully, on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of May. When the numbers are out, let us hope that it tallies with the projections, because the last census was 80-something million. And from 80-something million, we started saying 150, 120, to 200. So this is where I stand. Because if we're going to talk, let's talk about empirical facts. Let's talk about scientific facts. Let's talk about
maybe Lagos, for example.
All the numbers
up to 20 million people.
Lagos could be. Lagos is a different case, because when you stand on that express, Lagos Ibadan express, every day you see people trooping in. We saw a truck bringing in produce. I'm not going to mention what item it was, into Lagos, and there were over 30 people hanging on that truck. Now, maybe there were residents of Lagos that went out and came back with that same truck. Maybe. But what I'm saying is that there's always like an influx of people into Lagos. So it's not about Lagos. It's actually about how the last census in Nigeria was pegged at 70 or 80 million. No census in 17 years. Then you started saying you are 100 million. Then you started saying you're 120 million. Then you started saying you're 150. Then you started saying, I have always questioned the number of people in this country every time I heard it. Oh, there are 200 million Nigerians. Oh, for every eight black people in the world, there's a Nigerian. Look, I'm not saying it's not possible, but there is no proof.
My question is this with this issue of population is I'm trying to coin it now that if we're not, we know, let's put something out first. Let's put something out. Census is actually very important. It's very important for planning. It's very important for a lot of things. Now, if we say that, so are we now saying that as much as those numbers, so we're saying that the numbers in places like maybe Kano, in Rivers State, in Anambra State, all those places, there is a large chunk of manipulation?
What I am saying, and there's always been allegations of malpractices on the part of the enumerators, the Census Commission. People have always been of the opinion that we don't have this many people in this particular city or state. But now, I again would juxtapose it with the electoral process that tells us that there are 90-something million registered voters in Nigeria. Of the 90-something million registered voters that you have in Nigeria, there are 80-something million who actually physically collected their voters' cards. Now, the age range of people who vote is from 80 to infinity. So from 18 to infinity. Meaning that we're saying that a large chunk of 18-year-olds and above, numbering 90-something million people. Of course, some people have died. Some have traveled. Some are disenfranchised. Some are trying to get it and they can't. So it's a plus or minus situation. And there's always an error of margin.
Yeah.
But regardless of all of that, what we're saying is that there are 90-something million voters in Nigeria, but only 20-something million came out to vote.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's possible. My take is that the numbers keep reducing as the population keeps rising.
Oh yeah, that is definitely obvious. So
that's my issue.
For me, if we juxtapose it with the elections, what that tells me is really not about the population. It probably tells me that a lot of those numbers coming from the elections were almost always inflated. Which
also basically boils down to...
But we can't say that it's the same thing with population.
No, please. You didn't allow me to make my point. But it's fine. That's how we roll. Which also boils down to how the introduction of a biometric system of verification of voters has probably shown us. But you see, everything I'm saying is in the realm of probability. Has probably shown us that maybe, just maybe, because again, when they tell you 80-something million people have collected their voters' cards, and somewhere in the eastern part of Nigeria, thousands of cards were found in the bush.
I think that happened like
somewhere,
2 or 3 places.
Somewhere in the southern part of in Lagos, to be precise, hundreds of cards were found somewhere.
Yeah.
The other day, a video was made of someone who had kept people's cards in a pit. You start to wonder, like, really and truly. Then you hear stories of how some people who didn't even appear physically to retrieve their cards got their cards given to them. So you start to question, really and truly, with these loopholes in the electoral process, as in the registration of voters, do we really have 90-something million registered voters?
You know why I would agree with 90-something million voters?
Okay.
Why? Because for me, it's not about people that collected. The where I have an issue with is for the 80-something million people that they said collected. For you to have 90-something million people, it means to me that those people registered. Does not totally mean that those people collected. What that tells me is
of the 90-something million that registered, of the 90-something million that registered, we have seen cases where people started showing us underage voters in the eastern part and the northern part of Nigeria. We have seen a scenario where even INEC came out to say that the reason why we're publishing this thing is so that people can punch holes in them and help us also, sieve through to find out who is authentic or not. So again, a system that has a loophole to the point where even the arbiter, the person in charge, says, I know that my system might be compromised because people are trying to work the system. So even the 90-something million is called to question, because we saw it. There are videos out there of people who are underage who are lining up to vote, not only in the north but in the south.
Yeah, I was even going to ask one question.
In the south.
And is that Nigerians in the diaspora, how are they going to be? Because I'm guessing they're supposed to be added to the fact that the number of Nigerians that we have.
So the Nigerians in the diaspora, if you keep data, ideally the immigration service and the Nigerian embassy should have a certain number, but it's not going to work like that.
Because I know there's some people that travel
there are
illegally.
People who go through other means, travel through all sorts of ways to get out of Nigeria. Then when they even get to the country of their destination,
they don't even declare.
They don't go to the embassy to say, I'm a Nigerian living here. So there's no data coming from outside Nigeria. But again, I stand to be corrected.
Maybe the people that step out
the data
legally.
The data that they're going to work with is the data that they garner from Nigeria. Okay. People living in Nigeria. As at the time the census comes up on the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th of May 2023. So the people in the diaspora, and again, the way Nigeria's borders are so porous, the way that we have our affiliations with our neighboring countries, because the Nigerian country was carved out of different nations. In the southwest, there are Yoruba speaking people in Benin Republic. I'm not alleging anything.
No, it is what
in the south, there are Efik, Ibibio, and south people who are in Cameroon.
Yeah.
In the northeast, of course, the same Cameroon as people.
Yeah.
In the north west and north central, there's a connection to Niger and Chad. So Chad. So really and truly, the census is not going to be 100%, but it is a good process. I just hope that they have done it earlier, and I think the timing is wrong for an outgoing government that has less than 2 months of its time. Like, we're talking about 60-something days before you hand over to another government. organizing a census. I think it's completely wrong. I believe
like
that it's completely wrong. Like, it's almost as if there's some kind of desperation to organize the census.
Yeah.
Now, the data will be useful to any government that comes in.
Yeah.
So they can project to say that, oh, in Onitsha, we actually have 18 million Nigerians or 42 million Nigerians. We get that. But I'm saying that you're making it look like, oh, there's something we need to get done now. And it's not making any sense because you're actually going to inconvenience a lot of people. And I am also saying, I am repeating it, that if it's digital based, we might come to a point where we realize that we are actually not as many as we project.
Okay, and it's really spent a lot of time on that one. Now, moving on from that, I wanted to talk about some particular news that I saw earlier today. And I think that this is actually a very important one. People might just overlook it, but I think that with the way we are in Nigeria and with the way there's a lot of tribalism talk going on, bigotry and all those things, these are conversations that should come up that we need to sort out. Now, there's a particular lecturer, Dr. Ahmadu Shehu, has now gone to the Federal High Court in Abuja to order media houses henceforth to attributing all bandit and terrorism attacks in any part of the country to Fulani extraction. Basically, he literally had asked this, where he had put a lot of media houses involved in this. The Nigeria Orientation Agency is involved, the Attorney General. He has asked the Nigeria Human Rights Commission. Also joined the suit is Channels TV, African Independence Television, AIT, Guardian Newspaper, People's Gazette, Vintage Press Limited, This Day Newspaper, African News, now Nigeria, TVC Communications, Vanguard Media as the 4th and 12th respondents respectively.
All right. The thing about this court case is that I think I respect the professor. He's a professor, right? Doctor who's going ahead with this matter. On the one hand, I've always felt that Fulani people get a bad name even for doing nothing.
Yeah.
We're quick to say Fulani headsmen. Case in point, there was a lot of violence in the southwestern part of Nigeria. And in Yoruba, they'll say, oh, Fulani daran, meaning that it's the herdsmen that are behind all this mayhem. But we said it more than once here that what happens to your local criminals? Because, crime does not have a tribe. It doesn't have a religion. Crime is crime. Cuts across.
See what happened in the southeast. Remember that it was Fulani headsmen that it was noise about it for months until they realized that they were actually indigenes.
They started calling them unknown gunmen.
Yeah. Suddenly they're unknown now.
Yesterday, 2 policemen were shot down, were killed.
In Enugu, yeah.
At a stadium, in cold blood. And
I'm like, so we're back to unknown gunmen when they're now unknown, when you realize that they're not the people that we used to attribute. Are there Fulani people that are, that are bad? Yes. The same way there's Southerners that are bad, there are Yoruba people that are bad, there are Igbo people that are bad, there are Efik people that are bad. It does not mean that they're not wonderful Fulani people or nice Hausa people. I think people that are bad are just bad. So,
and the same thing,
cuts across everywhere.
Everywhere.
Tribe. So I really, really think that this is a court case that is needed. Maybe people actually need to get into the consciousness of it. If that would help the media generally, because that a lot of these things is being pushed by the media.
Yeah, again, it also shows that the media needs to do extra work.
We're more conscious.
Why do you always go with the popular sayings? Everybody says, "Oh, it's IPOB." Okay, can you do research to find out if it's IPOB or not? And that's why at times you even mislead the security people, the people who are in charge of security, because they might be looking in a different way and you're already pushing them in a certain way. Yeah. So I think that this court case is a welcome development.
Yeah, it is a welcome development also. Now let's move on still to like electoral matters still. the Independent National Electoral Commission has announced that they've budgeted about 3 billion naira to defend the results of the February presidential elections that happened on February 25th, and the governorship and state assembly elections that happened March 18th.
Yes. For those of you who care to listen, there are over. Let me not say over. There are about 100 court cases already.
Oh yeah, I think that from a lot of states, most states, there are only a few states that will not see governorship tribunals or maybe House of Assembly tribunals. There are a lot of all those cases that are going to be happening. I think that other than one party taking another party to court, people also need to realize that it is INEC's reputation is on the line. For you to be able to come out and announce a result, it also means that you want Nigerians to have faith in you doing your job. So I think I saw this and someone was like, why does INEC? And I'm like, to me, as much as yes, maybe people want to defend their mandate or they want to take back their mandate or whatever it is we call it, it is INEC's integrity that is called to question here.
Yeah, so it's a good time to be a lawyer. We mentioned this about a week or two ago, that it's a natural progression for the Nigerian political system. We go from campaigning, from screening, from primaries to election proper, then we move into the court season.
Yeah.
And that's where we are now. So not only are you going to make money if you're a lawyer on the part of politicians,
I think that
you're going to make a lot also working for the electoral bodies.
Yeah. I think that this particular one, why I'm even more interested with this particular system is that I think that a lot of things, especially maybe in our constitution, is finally going to be put to bed. There's going to be a lot of clarity on a lot of conversations that has come up. And I like the fact that the conversations about it now means that people are more aware. In fact, I know that they're clamoring. There's a clamor right now that the Presidential Electoral Tribunal should be televised. I don't know how, if that would,
You know how they say that the revolution will not be televised. Then they say the revolution will be televised.
I think that is
it's not a bad idea.
If that's the Supreme Court,
if the law allows it,
exactly, or the Chief Justice will probably have to weigh in on those ones. So anyway, like I said, it's INEC's integrity that is called to question here, and they definitely have to defend their work. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, also INEC, has now fixed Saturday, 15th of April for the outstanding governorship election in Kebbi and Adamawa State. We know that those two states are the only ones that have inconclusive elections. So there are going to be supplementary elections in some of the local governments. And in those local governments also is just some polling units and some wards right there. So yes, they have definitely put it there for they've decided that every outstanding governorship, national and state assembly supplementary elections that has not happened or did not happen is going to be all across board. Whatever state any election is pending, we know that. I think some people have I think in Sokoto State, I think that House of Assembly elections are not complete there. So basically what INEC is saying now is that 15th of April all elections should be done.
The major talking point from all of these elections that are pending is the elections in Adamawa State that has a woman, senator, serving senator, Binani, who, had already been reported to have won the election. Then people now said, oh, it wasn't her, it was the incumbent, I think that's Alhaji Fintiri. Then it was back and forth. Then they said, oh, this particular local government, Fufure, which is our own place, is supposed to sway things. But where we are now is that there's going to be a runoff in a couple of polling units. She believes that she can still pull it off. A lot of people feel that it's not going to happen.
Anyway, Governor of Interior just saw the statement where he had attributed to him, where he said that if the constitution allows, he would even win a third term.
Yeah.
So is he saying that he's already won the election?
He's saying that he's that confident. And again, one of the things that are instructive for me as an observer is the battles that Senator Binani has had to fight as a woman in politics.
Yeah, I agree.
Within a party alone, she's had to, go to court
To defend her
mandate.
And
the mandate that the people had given to her, the delegates had given to her.
Yeah.
Again, for those who might stumble on this video 100 years from now, or who stumble on it 2 minutes after we finish, we've never had a duly elected woman as governor in Nigeria.
Yep. So this will be massive. It will be, regardless of party lines, I think that it will be massive for Nigeria, for the Nigerian women, for Nigerian girl child. I think it really honestly be massive. But it's elections, and everybody needs to still go to elections.
And before you move away from it, 4 years ago, was it 4 years or 8 years ago?
I think it was 8 years.
It was 8 years ago. We were this close to having a female governor, a woman. We call her Mama Taraba. She was that close. It was the same scenario, and at the end of the day, she didn't win. In court. We were not there. So now that
it was not in court. Now she didn't win. Now, at least what INEC told us was that she didn't win.
Allow me, indulge me.
Okay.
She didn't win in court because I can't espouse on it. What I'm just trying to say in essence is that people are saying that that's the same scenario that will play out, and I'm not going to be driven by my emotions. My entire being wants Senator Binani to be the next governor of Adamawa, to send out a statement to all of us on how really and truly, how serious are we about gender equality
and all that?
How serious are we?
I think that it will do a lot, but we'll definitely see where that comes from. Now, still talking a bit of politics. Now, there's a story about the ward of the PDP chairman suspending him. And I'm guessing this is not the first time this is happening. Not just even in PDP, like across board. We know that everybody, if you understand Nigeria's electoral process, your ward is literally, if you're not careful, it's probably the most powerful for anybody. And now it is said that the PDP chairman has been suspended from his ward, and I think that the story is for anti-party activities. A lot of people have had a lot of things to say about it. I saw a story where it was said that the PDP chairman in Benue State said he had no idea about what happened. Now, the party chairman in himself has said that it is exercise in futility, that he had not been suspended, and that in fact there were allegations of people signing this suspension letter under duress. Also, that it is the National Executive Committee or something that can suspend him, not his ward. I'm like, but that happened in another person's case.
Yeah, well, it's different party though, so
same party.
You never can tell.
It happened in the same party.
So different party, same party.
Yeah.
I
also, Governor Wike has come to say that he agrees with it, that he didn't drive the party in the right direction, and the loss of the party in the presidential elections and the law of all those states is due to the incompetence of the party chairman.
All right, so these are interesting times, because I need to pick my words carefully. At times I get very excited. These are interesting times for Nigerian politics, as a whole, and the PDP, in particular. The embattled now, we can say, because it's been suspended by his party. Iyiorchia Ayu is
I think the man has really had a lot of issues in like the past 1 year.
It's someone that I feel that he made a flippant statement a few months ago, and he's paying for it. Now, these are the people that brought him into power, the Wikes and the Autumns of this world, brought him into power. But he said something after the PDP primaries, when a video was made, and the outgoing governor of Sokoto, Aminu Tambuwal, met him, and he said, "You're the hero of the primaries." That was a biased statement that he could have done without making. Now, why did he say that? Tambuwal is assumed to be Wike's ally, and he was supposed to deliver the votes that would have swayed the election in favor of Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, because all the governors, including Tambuwal, all of them had agreed. Okay, sorry, not Tambuwal. Now, all the southern governors across party lines had agreed that they were shifting power to the south.
To the south, yeah.
The PDP constitution says that there's supposed to be a rotation, which means that even Abubakar Atiku and Kwankwaso and all the northern people in PDP at that time were not even supposed to contest
the primaries.
And that's why they got Iyiorchia Ayu in as chairman from the north, so that they could get a southern presidential candidate.
Fortunately,
then it didn't work that way. Then a day after the primaries, you are caught on tape saying to someone who more or less truncated the plans of the South that you are the hero of the primaries. I think that was a flippant statement that he shouldn't have made, because as the chairman, even if you have a dog in the fight, even if you have candidates, you're not supposed to express it openly. You're supposed to be tactful about it. And for this reason, again, also looking at how the PDP has lost woefully in these elections.
Yes,
they might have done well in some places, but this is not the PDP that we used to know.
Even when, as from 2015, where they were in the opposition, this is still not the PDP we definitely used to know. Quickly, before we go, there's a bit of sport. Of course, for people that do not know, Tottenham's manager, Antonio Conte, has decided to leave the club after he, for the past 1 week he's very vocal about how the team has been run and he doesn't like it, and it definitely came off as he was not happy at the club, and after 16 months he has left. It's said that this is probably his worst.
Antonio Conte did something that a lot of coaches don't do, which is to criticize his team. Now, he clarified and said he didn't have an issue with the management. And it's a situation where why he's saying that is that he's expecting the management to back him up on it. But of course, it's rare to see a manager throw his team under the bus and still stay on the road. That's it. They will clear you, bros. So, of course, he's out of management. And I'm sure he's happy, because this is not what
is not
he
him.
envisaged.
Yeah, it's definitely not him. Now they're saying that the recently sacked coach of Bayern Munich is looking like he's going to be the new coach of Tottenham.
Yeah, Nagelsmann, the Bayern Munich coach, will be, like number one on the list of people who could become Tottenham Hotspur. Nagelsmann is a very good coach. But if I am him, based on the contract that he has with Bayern, that if he doesn't get a job, they're still going to be paying him a certain amount. I'll take a 2 or 3 month. If I let this season end before you take any job. Yeah. But he is also a very good coach.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, where is he doing? Everybody's asking for coaches, like, where are you?
Zizou is not ready. When Zizou throws his heart into the ring, trust me.
Definitely people that will pick it up. Anyway, Manchester City has announced that England has announced that Phil Foden is not going to be playing next Manchester City game.
Yeah, he has a minor injury, minor surgery.
Yes, the appendix. He had his appendix removed. So Man City's game with Liverpool, interesting. He's not going to be playing. We'll see how that's. There's
depth in the City team, so don't worry, they won't miss him.
Okay, we'll see. Anyway, finally, before we go, there's rumors, the talks of the NFF, that's the Nigeria Football Federation, planning to sack the Super Eagles coach if the Super Eagles lose to Guinea-Bissau.
The NFF had no business arraying Peseiro in the first
place.
I never hid my disdain for this. On Friday, everything I said came to pass. I just didn't say openly that they were going to lose. Now, Guinea-Bissau, just imagine.
Like, how do you have, I was actually went back to look at that team. I'm like, how do you have this? Shout out to the Super Eagles team for a long time. But in the past 5 years, I don't think they've had individual players that are actually this good.
So you need a coach that can mold them into a team. Peseiro is not the man.
Anyway, I honestly feel that he should lose so that this guy can go.
Win or lose, Peseiro should go.
On that note, that is all we'll be able to take today on the Boombah. Thank you for listening. Thank you very, very much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow at 3 p.m. West African time to give you another wonderful edition of The Bar. Do you have a beautiful day ahead?